Hey everyone, and welcome. So if you've ever had that dream of becoming fluent in another language, but let's be honest, the whole idea just felt like this huge, impossible mountain to climb, then you are in exactly the right place. Today, we're going to turn that mountain into an exciting, mapped-out journey. Let's get into it. I mean, this is the big question, isn't it? How do you really get from just knowing hello and thank you to actually having real, meaningful conversations? It can feel like you're just collecting random words, throwing them in a bucket and hoping one day they just magically turn into sentences. Well, here's the good news. It's not magic, not at all. It's a journey. And just like any great adventure, the secret to success is having a really good map. A map shows you where you're going, it points out the landmarks along the way, and it proves that your destination is totally within reach. And here's our map for this explainer. First, we're going to look at the roadmap itself. Then we'll hit our major milestones, setting up our base camp with those crucial first 1,000 words, climbing up to where you're truly conversational, and then making that final push to master the language. We're also going to talk about the secret superpower that fuels this whole climb, and then we'll figure out what your next chapter could be. Okay, so every good map needs a scale, right? Something to measure the distance. In language learning, our scale is something called the Common European Framework of Reference, or CEFR for short. It just gives us clear levels, from A1 for total beginners, all the way to C2 for complete mastery. But what does that actually mean in terms of, words you need to know? Now check this out, because this is where it gets really simple and powerful. It's all about the rule of two. To get from one level to the next, you basically just have to double your vocabulary. See? You start with 500 words for A1, you double it to 1,000 for A2, then double it again to 2,000 for B1, and you just keep going. It's a super clear, measurable path right to the top. So let's talk about that first huge destination, hitting those A1 and A2 levels. I want you to think of this as setting up your base camp. This is where you get all your essential gear together, you get a feel for the climate, and you get comfortable before you start the real climb. And this is why that base camp is so important. With just 1,000 words, that's it. You can already understand about 80% of an everyday conversation. Now, yeah, that other 20% is definitely important. Come on, hitting 80% comprehension with just 1,000 words, that is an amazing return on your effort. And you can literally see this progress in the kinds of stories you can enjoy. You might start out with a simple level 1 mystery like Sherlock Holmes' The Blue Diamond, but before you know it, you're ready for a level 2 thriller like Dead Man's Island, which has a more complex plot. The stories just get deeper and more interesting as your vocabulary grows. All right, let's keep climbing. Welcome to the B1 and B2 levels. This is mid-mountain, and let me tell you, the view from up here is fantastic. This is the point where you stop just surviving in the language, and you start really communicating and connecting with people. And just look at that jump in understanding. Once you hit 3,000 words, you're at 95% comprehension of most texts. Push that to 5,000 words, and you're at 98%. This is huge. You can have a solid conversation, you can read articles, you just start to feel really, really comfortable. And right around this B2 level, at about 5,000 words, you unlock a brand new superpower. It's called contextual guessing. Basically, you know enough of the language that you can start figuring out what new words mean just from the other words in the sentence. This is a total game changer, and it's when your vocabulary growth can really start to take off. Your bookshelf starts to look a lot different too. At the B1 level, you're enjoying some awesome adapted thrillers and mysteries, but by B2, well, now you're starting to tackle some of the great works of literature, like The Great Gatsby or Pride and Prejudice. It's a massive leap. Okay, time for the final ascent. We're heading for the summit, the C1 and C2 levels. This is where you move beyond just being functional and you step into true mastery. You can express yourself with all the little details and nuances, almost like a native speaker. This is the peak. Once you hit 10,000 words or more, you're at 99% comprehension. At this point, your vocabulary is right up there with a college-educated native speaker, You can understand pretty much anything, and honestly, if you've worked on your accent, you could probably pass for a local. I mean, at this stage, nothing is off limits. The entire library of that language is your playground. You can pick up a modern bestseller like The Hunger Games one day, and then dive into a really complex classic like Mrs. Dalloway the next, and feel totally confident with both. So we've seen the map, and we've seen the major milestones. But what's the fuel for the climb? What actually gets you up the mountain? Well, it's a superpower that every single one of us already has, our natural ability to learn through stories. It's how we learned our first language as kids, and it is incredibly powerful. But hey, you don't have to just take my word for it. Let's hear what actual learners have to say about this whole idea. Their own experiences really show you the power of learning through stories. This one from Lynn really hits the nail on the head. The stories aren't just a tool, they're actually enjoyable. And that little boost you get, that sense of accomplishment after every chapter, that's the motivation that keeps you going. It turns learning from a chore into an adventure. And check this out from Letitia. For her, learning through stories gave her more than just words. It gave her the courage to take that big step and find a real person to practice with. That's when all the learning turns into real-world confidence. It's amazing. Okay, we have laid out the map. We've seen the path from the very bottom all the way to the summit. So now it's time to think about your own journey. What's your next chapter going to be? So let's boil it all down. Here it is, 4 clear, totally achievable milestones on your road to fluency. Your first target, 1,000 words for that awesome 80% comprehension. Then you push for 3,000 to hit 95%. Aim for 5,000 to unlock that contextual guessing superpower. And finally, you climb to 10,000 and beyond for that near-native mastery. So the map is officially in your hands. You know the waypoints, and you know the secret fuel, stories that'll get you there. The only question left is, where will your story take you?